Hey everybody, we're back with Fallout 76, and from the title, you know that this is going to be a rant video. And what is it a rant about? Well, it happened about last night on the forums, and it started with this one thread, right? Now, this thread was about bloodied builds, but it was kind of a weird thread at first about bloodied builds, but then, it devolves later, right? As all threads do. So, the start of the thread was basically like some guy complaining that someone came up to him or was near him while he was playing, and he heard him through his mic saying, "Oh, you're a bloodied build like everybody else." And he had this long rant about how scrubs view bloodied build, or that was his giant paragraph. I'm like, all right, if you can't get your point across, I didn't put this down, but I'm like, if you're on the forums, right, and you can't get your point across in less than in one paragraph, your point's not good. But a paragraph is 4 to 6 sentences. At least that's what I learned back in school. So my comment, or what I put, was about his quote from whoever came up to him or was near him. And so I said, he's not complaining about your bloodied build, he's saying that you're boring. He's like, oh, like everybody else. You see what I mean? Oh, you're just following the meta. You know what I mean? So, that, my comment set the thread off. Like, because I was only the second or third person, and my comment set the thread off, and it's got everybody posting. And it was pretty funny. So, I still maintain that bloodied builds are kind of boring and the meta, and kind of a crutch in a way. Now, if you're using a bloodied build, it's fine. The goal of a bloodied build is to get as much damage as possible, which is fine. But the real rant comes in now, where this one person comes in. Never seen him on the forum before. He might have been, but I'm not on the forum a lot. I'm on like maybe less than an hour a day. Probably even less than that. Like sometimes I'll just go a couple days without even posting anything. But yeah, like it was a person without a profile picture, and what I learned from being on many different forums of many different games is don't argue with people who don't have profile pictures. I've just learned that. So this guy comes in and he says basically there's only three builds in this game and everything else is trash. And your builds are trash. Like, alright, if and it was like his three builds that he said were heavy weapons and power armor, a stealth sniper, and unarmed. I'm like, there are plenty more builds than those three. And it was, what else is in his comment, which is terribly structured, right? But it was, medics and high charisma builds are worthless. I'm just like, and the thread went on a little bit. I didn't comment because and then I came back and it was locked. I'm just looking at this guy's post. I'm like, if the goal is damage, right? If the goal is straight damage, then yes, a medic's build doesn't make any sense. And a medic's build is worthless if you're trying to deal as much damage as possible. But that's like going into World of Warcraft and saying a restoration druid or a holy paladin or a holy priest or a what's another healing one? Is shaman just called restoration as well? I forget. I haven't played WoW since 2014, so I forget a lot. But it's like saying any of the healing classes are terrible at DPS and therefore worthless. I'm just thinking, like, if the goal isn't damage, then yes, a medic's build is worthless. But the goal with a medic's build is not damage. It is to heal people and revive people and be in a group. It's to be the medic in the group. And it's obvious Bethesda in the future is going to want some kind of structure, like an MMO, because we're going to get 4-person raids. So in a 4-person group, which is usually 5 in MMOs, but you can cut, you can easily cut one out. But the structure that you're going to want to use is tank, 2 DPS, and a healer. So why wouldn't I want a medic's build? Now, my build right here that I'm using on this character, if you ever watched any of my videos, this isn't my medic's build. This is my armorless rifleman. I was trying to make a build that would be useful without any armor on. And I've managed to do that. I've managed to make a build where I don't need any type of armor except the Garb of Mysteries. But even then, I don't really need that. I only have the Garb of Mysteries on because it has bonus effects. Say Garb of Mysteries, which this lets me use Berserker's weapons. Oh, so that's when it glitches out. Because sometimes it should only give you 60 armor, and sometimes it gives you 80 for no reason. So yeah, but yeah, I can use Berserker's weapons. If I need more damage, I just take the Eye of Ra off. And I'm not spec to use the shotgun. Yep, 200. Let's take the Garb Mystery off all the way. 240. 240, completely unspec to use a weapon. Like, that's pretty good. Now, the only thing affecting... And you can glitch it out. Like, I put them both back on, I got 200. It should be 180, but, you can glitch it out with Berserkers. You can do a lot of stuff with Berserkers weapons that, I think most people ignore. So yeah, that's kind of the rant of this video. It's just like, I'm not saying like don't use bloody builds. Like obviously, like if you want a lot of damage, like use bloody builds. But like I'm ranting about like this guy's presumption and calling everybody else trash for using experimental builds or not using the meta. Like I have a feeling, right? I have a feeling that bloody builds are going to be nerfed. Not in any time soon, like not within like the next couple of patches, but by the time the vault raids are going to come out, I think they're going to be nerfed. It's just a presumption of how the game's patch notes are going and what they've been nerfing and buffing. Because look, they buffed explosives, but they've, they obviously nerfed two-shot explosives. They've nerfed the unyielding armor. They've nerfed some other stuff. They've buffed laser weapons. So. That's what I think. Like within the next month or two, I think you're gonna have a. I don't think it's gonna be a huge nerf. I think they're gonna nerf a little bit at a time, so that way people aren't like going to have a huge rant, huge spam their forums about it. But yeah, if you want to know how I know I know what I'm talking about with bloodied builds. Is that not the best bloodied weapon in the game? Or at least one of the best? Bloodied, explosive, and damage resistance. I also have my other Berserker's weapon I kind of use, this one. It's okay. Like, it's really good in VATS, and I was trying it out. It works. Like, this thing's perfectly viable. But yeah, back to Medic's build, like, now, I'm sort of in agreement that a straight Medic's build is kind of useless. Like, if you're doing no damage, like, you're kind of being a little worthless, but not really. Like, you're still providing something, worthwhile in healing, or at least you're going to in the upcoming months in terms of the vault raids, right? Which one am I missing? Master Rifleman? Yeah, there. But, so, that's why I have my secondary character, right? My secondary character is a Medic's build, but it's not a straight Medic's build. It's a build. It's a Medic's plus debuff build that uses explosives, right? And my goal with the Medic's explosive build, and I didn't say this, I just said on the forums because the thread was locked pretty fast, but the goal with this Medic explosive build is to heal and apply debuffs to all the enemies. Tenderizer and Suppressor are the two debuff perks. I think there's another one, but I'm not sure. I forget. But yeah, so... And I found out the best way to do that is to have explosive weapons. So that's what this build is, and it works. It works really well. This explosive Medic's build. Like, I didn't think it was going to work, but it does. Now, because I also got this weapon. It's a auto grenade launcher that heals people through VAT crits, which is like the perfect perfect weapon for this build. I also have Bunker Buster because it does a lot of damage, and I strangely have this that I don't know what to do with. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's my only rant. My rant is that there are the end of this rant is that there's a lot more viable builds than what this guy was saying, and if you only set the goalpost at one thing, then yes, only certain builds are going to seem useful. So yeah, my next build, not sure, because this one's not technically complete. I still need to get suppressors, because I have tenderizer, but I need to get suppressor up. I need to get suppressor and tenderizer, and then this will be, and grenadier I need to get up. So yeah, this build will be almost complete, and then I'll be able to just jump around, applying debuffs to everything, like debuff, 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 you know? And then, like, oh, I'll be able to jump over, heal somebody, get out of there, debuff, debuff, debuff. That's the goal with this one. Not sure what I'm gonna do next. If anybody can come up with some new, unique builds that they maybe want to try, like, I thought of doing a Plague Walker build. If you don't know, Plague Walker is a mutation that, whenever you're diseased, it will do damage, and, like, the more diseases you have, the more damage you'll do. I thought of, like, now, that's only gonna be part of the build. My idea for the build was a magic user, right? And that music's kind of loud. But the build idea was a magic user. And, like, there were several things I looked at the game. It was, like, unstable isotope, Plague Walker, electrically charged, and, like, it was gonna be probably a melee magic user, right? Because there was this alcohol that was supposed to come in with the DLC quest, and it was Firecracker whiskey, right? Firecracker whiskey was supposed to, if you can go read about it on the wiki. I'll actually have Firecracker whiskey linked down. It never made it into the game for some reason, but it would apply fire damage to all of your weapons. Every weapon you used would now do fire damage as well, which I thought, oh my god, I can use that. You can use that on a melee weapon, right? And that's really cool. You can use it on the crossbow, flaming arrows. That was gonna be a really cool, item to use. And it never made it into the game. So I'd probably... Shotgun would be really good with that as well. But yeah, it never made it in, so that's kind of halted my idea for a magic user. Yeah, alright, that's it. Rant over.